Well, you can say that I don't want to look like I have scoliosis. We should do a harmonizing intro.
Welcome back to the podcast.
Wait.
This week we have Devyn. We have Zoe. Yeah. We have Noah.
That's me.
And I'm your host, Caleb Brown.
Go, Caleb.
How are you guys doing this week?
Awesome.
So good.
So
Splendid.
lovely.
Splendid.
Thoughts on this podcast setup?
I think it works for Zoe. It's hard.
I feel very seen and known by the choice.
So silly.
I think it's
We
good.
actually did this just for you.
Thanks, guys.
We
Thanks.
thought, wow.
Did we
maybe
do it
should
just
have
for
Zoe's
Zoe?
side
Is that
said.
true?
Is it true? Fact check this.
Sorry, you're not here.
I'm not
Oh.
sure.
I'm here.
But for those
You're
who
the
are
viewer.
listening, we're sitting in really small chairs. And this might be a shorter episode because I'm going to get uncomfortable.
Charlie horses.
Too late for that.
Yeah.
Charlie horses.
Okay, so I
Eat
guess...
a banana. Prepare for this.
Eat a banana. All right, let's just
Banner.
start off with what are a couple of the things, like, people that came in this week and, like,
They're not
themes.
listening. I'm so sorry.
Oh, they're listening.
Go again.
I guess, so you weren't here, Zoe. Zoe's not in the school, but she is here hanging out, and you got to teach us twice now.
Yes.
So that's super fun. But we'll just go, like, Devyn and Noah and I just say a couple of people that came in and then, like, the main ideas that we learned, and we'll go from that.
That's cool.
My favorite person that came in was Zoe Maughon.
Your middle name's Lauren?
Yep.
Sorry, I didn't mean to expose your middle name. Yeah.
That's okay.
I feel like you just always bring it. And I'm really trying to remember what you talked. You talked about authority. It was really good. And I took notes, but I don't have my notes with me to reference
Bummer.
because this setup is atrocious. But it looked so cool.
That's awesome. Thanks, Dev.
I mean, today we just had an awesome day. It was all speakers.
Yeah, no, it was really great. I don't know. I mean, I think whenever Travis and Bridget come in, it's always kind of like they're a powerhouse.
Yeah.
I think,
This is true.
yeah, I cried like the entire time that they were in today, actually, like the full hour session, just because of Travis's story they were sharing. Very powerful.
Yeah. Maybe explain a little bit of what happened this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to share like too many details because he said that he doesn't share that story very much. But it was about someone that he lost, and he had to forgive somebody that essentially like caused that loss. And the story was like about forgiveness, and he led that forgiveness for his whole family, like as a kid, which was kind of cool. Just like to hear about how strongly he like was like, no matter what, like this isn't gonna make us bitter.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't gonna make us worse people. Like we're gonna come out of this forgiving this person, and so much so that he actually like fought for that individual, that they were all like choosing to forgive in the process. So like, I mean, gory, crazy details aside, it was just a very impactful, like, and I'm not really much of a crier usually, and I was like, couldn't stop. It was like a faucet. So, very cool.
Yeah, I think this morning was super special as far as, like, it all kind of went together. Like, we did worship this morning, and Bridget and Travis Joyner actually came an hour early, which I don't think we were expecting.
No, they joined us for worship.
Yeah,
It was fun.
so they joined us for worship. I think it was an awesome time, and then even Rick prophesied over them, and that
Love
just,
it.
like, set the mood.
Yeah.
And then they were coming in to talk on leadership. And actually for me, them talking, like, it wasn't, as he was talking, I was like, I thought, like, this isn't my idea of leadership. But basically he broke it down to, like, leadership has vision. And that's how he started, like, where his vision came from, and then, like, how everything he does operates out of that.
Yeah.
And then how he got, like, his family to come under his vision and different things like that. So I think this morning was really cool. And then Autumn Darden came in after. And Devyn, you want to explain like how that went, or do you have any thoughts on that? Like, it's hard to follow that up, I feel like.
Yeah. And it was cool because she didn't try to. She just she had what she was originally gonna bring and present, but she just chose to like really flow with Holy Spirit and acknowledge like, hey, God's in this room, so let's all just like literally worship right now and acknowledge that He's here. And just I'm really trying to remember what she talked about, because I remember the experience more than the actual like conversation, because it really was very much her flowing with the Spirit and being in tune with what was already deposited in the room. Instead of bringing what she had, she just kind of matched what was there, which I thought was really cool, the way that she just rolled with that.
That's really cool. Did she go into worship in her talk?
What do you mean?
Like, did you guys sing?
Yes.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Did you sing?
That's really cool.
She basically came in and like she walked in and she was like, there's an anointing in this room and we need to worship. And so we all stood up and just worshiped for, I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes. And then we sat back down and she taught us. It was really cool.
It felt longer than that.
It did feel longer than that. So Zoe, how's your week going?
Good. It's been hectic and crazy. I got to speak like Devyn and y'all said, which was good.
So good.
We went bowling with the youth last night, which was pretty fun, and laser tag and arcade games. And
did you win at bowling?
I gave up in bowling actually because we were ready to do arcade games.
Did you do the was it the place with the roller skating?
No, unfortunately no, because I'm a boss at roller skating.
You are a boss at roller skating.
But I'm not a boss at bowling, unfortunately. So that was not as fun. But
bumper buster. Is that what you are?
No, I did it without bumpers.
Wow.
But
I need to use bumpers every time I bowl.
Me too.
That's
I like
unfortunate.
the little dinosaur thing, you know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
that's swag.
I almost scored a perfect 0 when we went last year with the youth. It was
oh my gosh.
That's
Dude,
good,
if you were
Devyn.
golfing, you would have won.
But other than bowling, life has been good. It's been hectic and busy, but it is good, and appreciate the moments when I can sleep in, which was this morning. So I'm feeling pretty good and pretty energized and all the things. So I'm gonna be in a songwrite later which is gonna be cool. So
That's awesome.
that's my life.
How's your journey to rest? How's that going?
You know,
because you talked a little bit about like you're finding your journey to rest a little difficult, you know? Your relationship with that.
It definitely, I'm a practical person, so it definitely ties into when I'm planning my day. Mondays are always like my refresh, my restart. So my mom actually like sat me down and was like, hey, you need to not, because I'm going to Mexico in a couple weeks along with Caleb and some of the youth team. And
let's go.
Well, yeah, it's going to be really good. But she was like, you need to prepare a week in advance, clear your calendar, take some time to rest and be still. So practically, next week I'm going to be I will have more time to rest for my mind. Yeah, it's just blocked off for Zoe. So that is how that's going.
You going to go to a spa?
Oh, I don't know. Should I?
Are we going to go to South Hall and see our friend Kennedy?
Sponsored by Kennedy, this podcast.
South Hall.
Shout out. She was, for our viewers, she was in the apprenticeship program with Zoe. And the apprenticeship program was super different, but also kind of like the discipleship school.
But different.
That we are in now. But different.
But the same.
But this one's better. And they were all kind of weird.
Okay, all right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. The truth comes out. Sponsored by Kennedy.
Sponsored by Kennedy at South Hall.
Sponsored by South Hall because they have a lot of money.
Wow. Okay. All right. Let's go in a little different direction. All right.
It's good.
So
it's good.
what is
Leading
something, Devyn and Noah, like something that you're going to take away from this week or something that like meant a lot to you? It could be who spoke or like what they spoke about.
I want my notes so bad.
What was that? I love peanut butter so bad.
You want peanut butter?
No. I said I want my notes, and I forgot to grab them. And they're over there. Would it be disruptive for me to get them?
Can we have a stagehand?
All right, Noah,
okay,
do you have
I'm just
something?
going to do it from my memory because I got no answer.
So I am going to, I'll just go because Devyn
having a
can't think
moment.
without paper. What's been great, so since we came back from spring break, we've started this next theme of leadership, and we're going through the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by Max Lucado. I think.
No,
Esther's
it's John C. Maxwell.
Okay, it's John Maxwell. There's
John
Max
C.
in the name, I don't know.
Maxwell.
Some
Got the
author
Max-
guy.
I know
That's
his
awesome.
middle
Names.
name.
That's good.
You
John
remember that
Calvin
without
Maxwell.
John C. Maxwell. Me
John-
and Devyn did a deep dive into
We love John C. Maxwell.
I can't believe that you remembered that without notes.
I remember it. I could never
Anyways,
forget
Yeah, what did you
him.
learn?
The 21 irrefutable laws. It's I don't know. It's been very insightful because there's like oh man, they're like principles, like how
Yeah.
when we were like, it's like the proverbs of like leadership. You know, like how when
Mhm.
you're going through the Bible, there's like proverbs that work like 90% of the time. They're not promises. They're proverbs, and like if you use them most of the time, they're gonna work. Like
Yeah.
That's good.
it's kind of like that, but like solely focused on leadership, which is cool because like even the author of the book said that like he himself is like good at not all of them. Like he's like bad at like 5 of them.
Shout out
Um,
John C. Maxwell.
Shout out to John C. Maxwell. I'm actually reading that book right now, and it's not even mine, it's Rick's, which is great because he gave it to my little brother, and my brother never read it, so now I'm reading it.
That's cool.
Dang.
Super cool. It's just fun. There's principles like, you know, you are who you hang around
Yeah.
kind of stuff, which is kind of sobering. There's
Had you ever heard that before?
well,
Like before this?
I mean, yeah, not worded the exact way that it says in the book. I also probably need my notes if I'm gonna like recall like the best, you know, like actual information.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so embarrassing.
Yeah.
Power of notes.
The power of writing stuff down. Remember that, kids.
Yeah. Well, I think that law.
You
is-
know how to
Went
take
away.
notes.
I just went away.
Let's go, Zoe.
Yeah, Zoe taught us to take notes.
She
Taught a
did.
whole class on it, and it was quite
Whole
good.
class. We should have had that class.
It's
at the
quite
beginning of the
wonderful.
year.
I really liked it.
But that being said, I really like the friends one. What I remember is you are the sum of your 5 closest friends.
Yeah.
That wasn't the law exactly, but that was like the underneath
That's
of
the
it.
gist, though.
I've
'Cause then
heard
it's
of
like, yeah, who you keep around you. Like, if you want people around you to sharpen you. You don't want to just like have an entourage of goofy people
Yeah.
that like don't go anywhere. Because then you're like drowning basically. No one's helping each other get up.
Yeah.
Definitely.
You're in my sum.
Iron sharpens iron.
Top 5.
gosh.
Come on.
Well,
Devyn's
that
already
was
in the
even that
sun.
was something that was interesting. As in, like, I think we all know this, but it was like something I had to think about. Was like you don't get to pick your family, but you do get to pick your friends.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So it's like if you evaluate and you're like my 5 closest, that is not what I want to like be looking like in 5 years or whenever. Like we have the opportunity to change that friend circle.
Yeah.
And I know it's really easy to say, and I'm sure it's a lot harder to do.
Yeah.
But that still is a really cool thought that like we have our family, that's what we get to steward well, like that's what was given to us.
Yeah,
But our friends, we can go around and get different ones.
for sure.
That's even Des and Randall came in.
Just drop them.
Des and
Fine.
Randall were coming in, and they talked about how when they were, I guess, I don't know if they were newly married, but they were like couple dating. Was that Des and Randall? Who is that? I think it was.
Can you explain that differently? Because I'm not sure what you're.
Well, when Des and Randall came in, they were
So-
talking about leadership, but they were newlyweds, and then they had to run this like softball team of
Mhm.
kids.
Sounded
that-
like a film.
it did sound no, like it. Literally, it felt like a Sandlot, like Rudy type film, like a
Starring
Mighty
Des and
Ducks,
Mm-hmm.
starring Des and Randall, but with
Yeah.
softball. And they
So
don't even
crazy.
know that game.
Yeah.
That was
Randall
really cool.
played baseball.
I'll explain the dating the couples. That was they were trying to find friends and people that would like pull them up.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes,
That was Des
yes. That
That's
Thank
really
you
good.
for
Correcto.
so making that not so awkward. But they were basically
Awkward.
talking
Weird,
about that. That
weird.
was like them finding their friends. But even like I feel like as a couple, that's even harder because they're like maybe we like the guy, but like the girl was a little odd and like back and
For
forth.
real.
So yeah, that was interesting. Des and Randall were really good.
That's
There's-
awesome.
I'll say something I really liked about Des and Randall was that I feel like we did the laws with Rick, and so we went through all the laws and like they were kind of labeled, and then Des and Randall came in and just like gave us stories, and like we got to see all the laws. Like they didn't know, they were just like doing their best.
That was so cool because I did notice that with a lot of the people that came in this week. Did you talk? I can't talk to you. You're not here. Sorry, Rick
Trying to
is
talk
behind
to
the
Rick.
camera.
Yeah, everyone on the audio is gonna be so confused. Rick's behind the camera. He's not behind the camera.
You would think, because of the way that people spoke, that Rick, who's not in this room,
Not at all.
would have talked to the speakers before they spoke about the 21 laws, because like he's shaking his head. No, he didn't. Wow.
Wow. Oh my gosh, you're like our Jamie.
Because everything that they would talk about like applied and would fit under the umbrella of the 21 laws. And I just thought that was so cool. And I think that's the Lord, because God loves for things to be presentable with a little bow, and he's so cool.
I like
God
that.
is
And
so cool.
stories are always, in my opinion, it's cool because you never know when you're going to do a law, but you're living your life, and then you're able to glance back and be like, oh, this is inside of me. Like the more I've grown and actually adopted these principles in my life, you just live, and then you're able to look back and be like, oh, I did do that. And like, look at that. Wow, I'm improving in life, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So stories are,
And say yeah into the mic.
Not to like put you on the spot, but are there any laws that you've like learned? So you weren't in the class with us this week.
Yeah,
but
what do you
like,
mean by laws first?
The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John C. Maxwell.
So just like hardcore principles.
just
Okay.
hardcore principles.
Yeah.
Did you read
like-
that book, or did you just read the
didn't.
Developing the Leader Within You 2.0 edition?
I read that one, and then I read one on communicating. Let's just say I read 2 John C. Maxwell books, but I've not read the one that you guys are referencing.
Okay,
But
thank you.
it's specifically in leadership, Caleb?
Yes.
Or okay.
So here, I'll give you a couple examples.
Yeah.
So
The first one's like law of the lid.
Yep, the first one's the law of the lid, and that was leadership abilities will cap. The leader's ability will cap its
Effectiveness.
effectiveness. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's not how you do, it's how you teach. And so that was like the first one. The second one is the law of influence, the law of process. And so like all of these we took time, like we would say, and then we'd go into depth about them. And so it is basically what you're saying. It's like you're living life, and it's not like you put a law to it. But then once these laws are said, you're like, oh yeah, that checks out. That's how a leader is. So I guess, do you have any that you've lived at? If not, that's okay.
In leadership specifically, it's probably putting people over any other process or agenda or to-do list. And because I am to-do list oriented, it's been easy to, because I'm working with people, but then I'm an administrator in certain things. So it's easy to be like, oh, I have to schedule X, Y, and Z. And then but I'm literally in front of a person. Like something that Devyn's actually challenged me in is being like, yeah, I'm about to shout you out. Like
Iron sharpening iron.
it's true. It's like
Top 5.
It's been good because, seriously. But it's been good because it's always good to come back to the perspective of why am I doing this? And it's like, there have been times where we're literally talking and I'm in work, but like God has dropped in and been like, hey, what's more important right now? Is it like you will have time to do this task, but right now your friend needs you and you need to process things out. So be where your feet are, be in front of Devyn and stop worrying about this task you have to do. And it's been so good, like being here, being surrounded by people. Like, and there are times, granted, where you need to get things done. You have to hide, you have to go in and to your cave and get work done. But especially in ministry, in leadership, always remembering that people are the priority and people are why you're doing it.
Yeah.
So that's probably my main law.
That's
if you
good.
I
will.
believe that one was, at least in the law lineup, is called the law of connection. And the theme is like touch a heart before you touch a hand type concept.
Yeah.
And you're just living it out.
Yeah.
Look at you go.
Look at me living laws.
Just
living life.
Well,
Live, laugh, love law.
So have you enjoyed coming in to teach, like the 2 classes that you've taught?
I have. I've loved. So I like preparing. I like writing, but speaking can be a little more challenging. But it's something that the first time I did it, it was actually when I was in the apprenticeship, and we did like a mock sermon for the class and for Rick, and that was one of the first times I was actually operating in it, and I was like, oh, I could totally see myself doing this. And it was a cool moment of like, aha, this is like a calling of mine. But then it was also like oh crap, like I'm gonna have to do this for my life, and I know I am, but it's so hard. Just because it's a muscle you have to grow, and it's something you have to train in. But all that being said, yes, I have liked it. It's just been a growth process. It's been stretching, and but it's been super cool and really you delve into yourself when you are like, okay, what's the message I'm sharing? And like if you're talking about like a heart posture with people, which I feel like a lot of what I've talked about has been heart posture oriented. It's like, oh, like where is my heart posture in this? And like reflecting back and being like, oh, my heart posture used to be actually really negative in this, and now coming through it, walking through it, being like, oh, the Lord, like how you've changed me, God, has been super cool. Yeah. And it's now I carry a stronger authority. Like if someone was talking about anxiety, but they've never experienced it before, like the authority is not going to be there as much. Versus if you did walk through it, now you're counseling somebody else, like you have that ground to stand on. So it's just been cool to reflect even in my own life, being like, oh, look how far you brought me, Lord, and now I'm able to speak about it. So, but I liked my first one. I felt like I rambled the second time a little more, but I liked the first one a lot.
But you said you were intentional, I feel like, with the ramble. You said, I want this to be more conversational.
That's true.
And I feel like you were. I feel like you were everything that you said you were going to be.
Wow, look at that.
As someone, like, I have a question for you specifically, because, like, you were in the school last year. Yeah. And then coming here, going from like, I mean, you've been leading the youth group since you were like, what, 18, 17?
Yeah, 18.
Yeah. So like going from like not a lot of responsibility going to a lot of responsibility, specifically with like presenting information in a way of like public speaking, like things that have value. Is that like a tough process? Like is public speaking something that comes naturally at all? Or do you feel like the sense of like weight whenever you're trying to present information that like you think is actually valuable for people's lives? Is there like a weight that comes with that?
Yeah, I would say I'm able to talk to people well, like that's a skill that I have, like conversationally for sure. So I built that muscle conversationally, and the transition and like maybe the tough part was being like, okay, when I'm in front of people, like in a public speaking setting, it's like it's still tapping into the conversational. Like I don't want to be like a brick wall that you're talking to, but it definitely took me to be like, hey, this actually, like you have to say it very concisely, and you have to kind of chisel away at any other things like fluff stuff, I guess. So it's definitely, you need to work on being like firm, concise, don't ramble. But as far as like the weight of speaking into someone's lives publicly, I think I'm figuring that out. Like I think someone said you're nervous because you care, and that's kind of what I think a lot of the nerves that I do have before speaking is from. Like I definitely felt it in speaking because I spoke at youth like last week, and it was about your relationship with God, and that's really sensitive to my heart just because of my journey with it. But it's also like these kids are learning what that means, and it's like it's in me. Just quick story time. When I was in middle school, I was communicated a lot of things that involving your relationship with God that were a little harsher, maybe a little more legalistic, and I'm a black and white person, and I was a black and white kid. So it's like I took that, and like maybe one thing was like, and who knows, but like one thing was maybe harshly communicated, but I took that and I ran with it, and I actually adopted like how I viewed God around that one thing. And so, and that was like my story. It wasn't like I heard that, like that happened to me. So the weight came, and I was like, man, communicating God to kids who are figuring out who God is in their lives does come with the weight. And, but it was beautiful though, because you can feel the Holy Spirit take over in those moments. And, the nerves built up as I was about to do it, but I stepped into it. It's like you're stepping up to the plate and hitting the ball. And then when you're there, you just everything kind of fades away. So yes. And I don't know what you even asked me anymore, but that is what I said. And personal
thing. Because you were talking about how she took over the youth at the ripe age of 18.
Youth worship.
One of you. But yeah, youth worship. Something that I feel like you've always done really good as a leader that I felt really, really challenged in by this month has been communicating vision. I feel like you've always done a really good job of like, if you're doing a change that's like a little like, you're going to communicate like why and how this executes the vision and the heart of what this team is ultimately for. And even in like the smaller interactions, like if you have to like, I don't know, correct someone personally, even if it's in your admin thing, if you're like, I really need to like work on this. there's always a motive behind it rather than you just being like
Flippant about
yes,
it. Yeah.
yeah. There's always a lot of intentionality, and that intentionality is in you always. I think being aware and carrying that vision behind what you do as you lead, and I think that's huge, and I think that's something that like I didn't always consider in leadership. It's hard, like asking why is hard for me sometimes, but I don't know. I feel like you've led very well in that area.
Thank
That
you.
vision.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's
Like
cool.
that was really close to blow a kiss. That felt really weird. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, that was cool. Well, I think that's awesome. Zoe, you are an awesome leader, and it's like so
you.
fun because I think you're in like the perfect spot for what you do. Like you're with kids, and you're just a joyful leader. Like you walk in with a smile, and like what we've learned this week is there is different styles of leadership.
For
like
sure.
everybody doesn't lead the same way, and so your style is just super fun and it's bubbly, and like people are willing to follow you because of what you do, and it's awesome. And so even this week, like just learning about different leaders, like if you're not going to change the way that you lead, which is good because you need to find like your style of leadership,
Yeah.
and then be surrounded by the people that like gain the respect of the people that you want. Because if everybody's like telling you, I forget, we were talking about something this week, and it's like, what if the leader's not who you were expecting them to be? And it's like, that's okay, but maybe you can either find like another leader, as long as that person's like strong in their leadership style, they're probably not going to change it for you. So I know that was a big rant, but basically I think you're in a perfect spot for your style of leadership, and it's awesome.
For sure. Thank you.
Absolutely. Devyn, that was a great point. Is there anything this week that you've like learned or been out of the ordinary?
Oh my gosh, I keep talking about Zoe, but you said in your teaching on authority, and this was huge, it's like, what if your natural bent is the way that God intended for you to function?
Ooh,
And that's like
that's good.
huge. And I even wrote beside that, like, you need to honor who God made you to be.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're trying to lead in a way that's like not who you are, I feel like, yeah, it might be what somebody wants, but I feel like it's dishonoring God because it's dishonoring
Whoa.
the way that you were created. And that might be an extreme way to put it, but like that's kind of what was put on my heart, if that makes. So it's kind of leading as yourself, but also leading as yourself, but also controlling yourself, not necessarily changing who you are, but like almost being on the control board and like turning up like, okay, in this room I'm gonna turn up my wisdom. In this room I'm gonna be a little more, goofy. That way I come off as relatable to people and people aren't like intimidated by me. But like tweaking that
Right.
instead of tweaking everything about who I am.
That is really
That's
good,
good.
Devyn.
So
Because you have to remember, like, okay, it's always about how they're gonna, like, I think knowing who you are and knowing like what you carry, but also I love tweaking it like to the room, because you're not gonna communicate to middle schoolers the same way I would communicate to a Sunday morning crowd, right? And it's just, that's so good, because I think when you focus on who's in the room, you're able to now like simplify down, like, hey, what do I actually need to say, and how should I actually say it? Like, it makes it so simple when you're focusing on that, which is really cool.
Well, too, also off of that same point of like maybe your natural bent is how you're just supposed to be, like in your leadership style or whatever, however you end up being like effective the most, maybe you'll be the most effective how you're just made. Like, it's, I think out of any aspect of leadership, probably the best one to start with, because there's a lot of people that have such great potential, but they don't know necessarily who they are yet, or how to even operate at all anyway. Like, and it's such a great spot, because then you can just start by sitting in this space and be like, well, God, like, how did you make me? Like, and sitting in that space and really meditating on it and waiting for those answers. Because then once you get those, like, like, it's foundational. Like, you got it from like the guy that made you. Like, it's rock solid, nothing can shake it. It's the best foundation to be made to be able to lead anyone else past that point. Like, it's, oh man, it's just so good. Because like, I found like, just like since school started, so many more things about how was like made to be from the beginning. Like, and
Yeah.
like God's been like showing me and like helping me rediscover like, hey, this is who you are. Like, and I've been able to live out of those identities instead of just like all of the ones that people try to like put on you and all the voices and everyone that like the expectations of like even family members, you know, like, you know, like in the same aspect, like earlier, like you can choose your friends. So like, as you start to find out more things about yourself, like, and how you're made to be, like you can kind of redirect your friend group or like help inspire your friend group to change. But it's really tough, especially like with family members. Like it's hard to fight those voices sometimes too, since you can't change your family. Like those voices kind of cut the deepest, depending on like if you maybe don't come from like the best family or whatever. But it's a great point. Like you're killing it, Zoe. So much wisdom.
That's so good.
Thanks.
You have to view everything through a filter almost. I don't know, because you were talking about family, and that doesn't really tie back to leadership, but I guess it ties back to the way that you, as a leader, you need to be aware of the people you're leading. So like, really taking into account like, okay, who is this person and what have they been through possibly, and approaching things from that way. So that's like, and I feel like that applies to family too, because I don't know, I think you shouldn't be internalizing something that's coming from like a really unhealthy person and like kind of holding that in your hand. That's such a sidebar.
Well, I think,
bless you viewers.
like, I think that like family and like it's all different scenarios, but ultimately like from personal experience, I'm not turning anything on. I'm, you know, because I even had a really fruitful conversation with my family the other day, but I kind of carried it in the same light as if I was talking to you guys, right? It's like you can, especially as like your parents' kid, there can almost be like I don't know actually, because you're my parents, you definitely know more, which like obviously you honor and you respect the age, right? But like that's priority for sure. But like saying it in a way that's like, hey, I really believe in what I'm saying and I'm going to present it in a way and talk to you guys in a way that actually like I'm firm in it and I am leading the conversation. So it's like you don't have a switch you turn off and on just because you're not the leader of the room, but your mindset about yourself and what you have to say or what you have to say should be the same, at least in my opinion. I think wherever you are, that same mindset of I have something to share, I'm going to say it confidently. I'm going to say it like in my natural way of expressing things, which is for me, it's joy. Like, you know, you guys all know your natural things, but I think that it should be a constant string. You know what I'm saying?
What are you laughing at?
Hey, Caleb.
I just looked at you. I was like, "Do we all know our things?"
Oh yeah, yeah. Can we talk about that? Oh, what does that mean?
He's saying hi.
Holy Spirit.
Well,
That'd be so fun, unless you have
Go
other
off
things to
what
talk
are?
about.
What was the question?
Like you even mentioned it in me. Like, what's your natural bent, essentially, in leadership?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we could talk about that, but unless you have something else to say, 5 more minutes.
Do you know yours?
About what?
About your natural bent
My
and
natural
leadership?
I think, dude, I'm such an inspirer. Like, I'm...
For sure.
Yeah. I love to just be like, dude, you're killing it.
Like an encourager.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, like...
Inspirer.
Yeah,
You're the
Inspiration. Okay, sorry. We have now 4 minutes.
Yeah, no, like, I love to see the best in people. I think that, I'm a very empathetic person, just from like the walks of life, like that I've come from. Like everything I've gone through has helped me. I don't know, like coming out of the other side of a lot of the things I've had to go through. Like I really understand people, and I know what it's like to be in a lot of different kinds of places. So like that empathy that's like rooted deep inside of me, like. One, like I can stay with people when they're in really low places, but also like I love celebrating people when they get to like high places. Is one of my favorite things ever. Like
That's cool.
To see people shine and grow and like
That's awesome.
it's so much fun.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that I am someone that like will definitely stay in someone's corner no matter what. So that's probably my bent and how I lead.
Sorry, I laughed,
That's
but you
awesome.
explained that really well.
That's
Thanks.
awesome.
Yeah.
You're forgiven, Dev. It's all right.
Do you know yours, Devyn?
No.
Okay.
Bless you.
Loser. Dude, I'm such an inspirer.
Bless you. I'll say, well, I think that's just it. It's humor. And I think that, you
Yeah,
know, like,
so good,
it's one of
actually.
them. I'm not going to limit and say that's what it is for you. But I think that that's definitely a skill that you have, is you're able to relate to people on a new and more comfortable level. And that's what I see in you, at least, for sure. If you don't know, you can start there.
Well, I feel like we have like 2 minutes, so
Okay.
Yeah.
Caleb,
do you
wanna go?
agree with that? Do you?
Yeah, sure. I'm still.
That was a big no. I don't.
No, I do.
Zoe
I
Maughon.
absolutely do. I'm still figuring
Yeah,
out.
my
I'm still
cord.
figuring out like what it looks like, because I don't feel like it's. I don't know. You were talking about it.
1 minute.
And your and your little talk and the natural bent thing, you were talking about like, I had to like get onto a group of kids, and it felt
You had to get on a group of kids. Like sit
you had
on
to
them?
yell. We have a minute at a group of kids and be like, hey, don't do that.
Yeah.
But because
Yeah.
you were operating outside of yourself,
Yeah. I
it
felt pressure
wasn't
to not be
effective.
myself for sure.
and so I'm like, yeah, I don't.
Yes.
Same. Caleb.
Back to you, Caleb.
Oh wait.
I'm listening.
Yeah, I don't even know. Mine, I would just say definitely an encourager
Yeah.
of people, and
Yeah.
then the more I think I'm walking more into helping people
Oh gosh.
through things like operational, like how is it gonna get done, and
That's
cool.
great.
and yeah,
Like on
that's
the
actually new.
practical
So
side.
yeah, definitely more on the practical side, which is
That's
interesting
sick.
because that's like a couple years ago I would not have said that about myself, but that's kind of what I found.
That's
and then that
cool.
was really cool. Isaac Pence came in. Whoop
Yeah.
whoop. He was
Go
awesome.
Isaac.
Shout out, also former student.
Alumni.
Yeah.
That is true. And just really quick, he talked about basically the quiet time and like the hour in the morning to take time, ask God specific
Yeah.
questions, get with him.
So important.
And then so that way throughout the rest of our day, we're operating from a place where we can be giving and not of a place of receiving. And that just struck me really good because it was like, oh, yeah, that's right. Through our day that we get to impact, like we're looking for opportunities. We're looking for things because we're filled up from our morning time that we get to overflow on other people. And we're not just like,
Good.
ooh, what do I get out of this day? What am I going to get from this person? I need this because I'm not full in this area. And so that was just a really cool thought for me.
Yeah.
on that.
Living out that overflow.
Like how can I
Yeah.
add value?
Oh,
I
Yeah.
have mine.
Okay.
One-on-one. I like one-on-one conversation, and
That's cool.
Sweet.
I don't know if that's how nuts, but like, yeah, leading people on a personal level, which is what you said. What? We got nowhere. You already said that, and I just
That's
acted
and
like
now
it was a
you-
big revelation.
No,
That's
yes,
hitting
that's
me.
so good. Yeah.
That's
That's
me.
good.
Thank you.
Yep, that's me.
Yeah.
Oh my
That's so
gosh.
Raven.
Awesome. Any last thoughts?
This was great.
It was
Yeah.
I think y'all are made
was
to be on
fun.
podcasts like this.
Thanks for being here.
Guys.
Tiny chairs.
Come on,
This is
tiny chairs.
For
It's like Tiny
in-between
Desk
ferns.
concert, but it's
Tiny-
Tiny
tiny
Chair
habits.
podcast.
Is
Anybody get that?
Sorry.
Oh, can we end with a song?
Can we please end with
You
a song?
guys can definitely end in a
Please.
song.
Okay, okay.
We'll
Leave
see you
melody,
guys
your
next
melody.
week.
Isn't she lovely? I don't want to end with this song.
All right, let's cut it.
Okay.
Did
Fine.
you end it?
This is good.
Cut.
Let's go.
Wow.
Isn't she lovely?
Good job, guys.
That's it.